7 News reporter Zach Grady live in Cape Vincent with that story. Zach.
Jeff, many here in Cape Vincent say that this moment has been 3 years in the making. The 20-mile drive from Watertown to Philadelphia along Route 11 was lined with stranded cars, jackknife trucks, and a lot of snow. Council members that want to complete the purchase feel that they can make up that money and more by running a profitable golf course. Senator Dan Steck said at this point they do hold a comfortable lead, but not so much that she's ready to come out and meet with her constituents. She is here, though, at the Queensberry Hotel, and we do expect to hear from her later on this evening. Officers deployed a stinger, or a tire deflation device, to disable Hutt's vehicle. A second officer used his vehicle head-on to prevent Hutt from going into this home here on Thompson Boulevard. With a foot of powder already on the ground, Snow Ridge General Manager Nick Beer says an early storm could have an exponential effect for a successful season. The artist from American Carving Company will be here at Burville Power Equipment through the end of the week. Zach Grady, 7 News.
A scary scene at last night's Buffalo Bills football game. Safety Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field and needed to have his heart restarted. Tonight, we learned more about that injury that the player suffered. 7 News reporter Zach Grady live tonight covering that. Zach.
Jeff, the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals Monday night football game stopped due to a medical emergency. After talking with local cardiologists, we learned just how uncommon this injury is, even in a high-contact sport.
Here's Higgins wide open.
Bills defensive back Damar Hamlin remains in critical condition at a Cincinnati hospital after suffering a cardiac arrest Monday night, making a first-quarter tackle.
If your chest gets impacted hard enough, it can throw your heart rhythm out of sync. Within 10 seconds, you might be able to stand up and recognize something's wrong, but you collapse.
CPR was given on the field to the second-year safety, as well as oxygen, before being taken away in an ambulance more than 16 minutes after he collapsed.
Every second counts, and if you have that sort of lull, if you don't get there fast enough, it gets harder and harder to resuscitate.
While football is certainly a strenuous contact sport,
football is actually one of the safer ones, so 1 in 35,000.
Willis means 1 in every 35,000 cases of this particular injury happen on a football field yearly. In baseball, it can happen 1 in every 20,000 cases. Basketball, which is defined as a non-contact sport, it happens once every 8,000 cases. Even with low case numbers, a scene like this hits home for athletic trainers like Robert Brooks at Indian River Central.
It's always on your mind. I mean, always. You always worry about, well, what ifs? What if something happens, a cardiac event happens on the field?
Brooks adds at Indian River, the school has a plan ready to be put into action if this sort of medical emergency happens at a home game. The plan is also in the hands of the ambulance crew on the sidelines. Good evening, I'm Zach Grady. Thank you for joining us tonight. In breaking news, legendary TV news anchor Barbara Walters has died at the age of 93. Walters joined ABC News in 1976, becoming the first female anchor ever to anchor an evening news program. 3 years later, she became the co-host of 2020. She later went on to launch The View in 1997. The show continues to air now, 25 years later. Walters was known for her legendary interviews of world leaders and celebrities. She won 12 Emmy Awards over her career. Her 5 decades in broadcasting paved the way not only for female journalists, but for all women in media. According to a statement, Walters passed away peacefully in her home, surrounded by her loved ones. Democrats in the House have released 6 years of tax returns from former President Donald Trump. It follows a long legal battle that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. CBS News' Skylar Henry is at the Capitol with the latest.
Newly publicized tax returns cover the personal and business finances of former President Donald Trump. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
A new year means new laws, changes that range from an increase in minimum wage to new regulations for telemarketers. 7 News reporter Chad Charette has a wrap-up of what's coming in 2023.
Zach Grady was on the sidelines and has the highlights.
General Brown making its first state title game appearance since 2010. Pick up the action in the second quarter. Lions trailing when senior running back Caleb Natali would take it in from 2 yards out for 6. Natali had 70 yards on 18 carries. Lions would take the lead on a 2-point conversion to go up 8-7. Second half action now. James O'Neal with the 13-8 advantage when junior quarterback Aiden McManaman drops a 27-yard dime-minute tally, his second score of the night. McManaman 4 of 11 for 86 yards and a touchdown. General Brown goes up 14-13. Fourth quarter, Lions trailing again 16-14 behind the chains and can't convert on a 4th and 15 in Raider territory. James O'Neal all but ices it on the very next play as Nick Waugh hits Malik Arbogast in stride. He takes it 82 yards to the house and the 23-14 lead with 6 minutes left. Arbogast again on defense puts the finishing touches on the Raiders' 12-2 state championship season with the interception.
I think when they look back on it and get over the initial heartbreak of losing the state championship, I think that's exactly what they'll see, is this was one of the best teams that's ever played at General Brown, and they achieved some phenomenal things.
They got what we gave them. They capitalized off our mistakes, and that's what we should have had fixed, but we slipped up and they capitalized.
Although the General Brown Lions came up just short of their ultimate goal, with 5 returning starters on offense and another 4 returning starters on defense, Coach Black says that the preseason begins on Monday. From the JMA Wireless Dome in Syracuse, Zach Grady, 7 News Sports.